Hello everyone, it is Shadow's Realm, and this is going to be the last WoW video I make in the Legion expansion, because in 2 days time, it will be Battle for Azeroth. So the last video that comes up on the channel, in Legion. In this video I'm going to be going over just some of the things I enjoyed about the expansion, some bosses I felt were horrible for melee, and just overall what I thought about it in general. So let's kick things off with just how did I feel about, artifact weapons and not having to go out and farm, a specific weapon and hope it drops and everything else. To be honest, I missed that. As somebody who has over 200 plus appearances for just my swords, I can transmog my swords to over 200 different looks between staves, polearms, maces, everything. I think I have over 200, 300 appearances just for two-handed weapons. I missed the, going out and even in raids, even if somebody didn't need or, was about to get sharded, I would most likely take an item just for the transmog appearance, let alone the stats. That was one of the most fun things I had was, oh hey, it's a caster sword, but I can use swords, so let me go ahead and get that appearance. If it's about to go, I'll pay the shard or 50 gold or whatever that we would have gotten for it. I enjoyed that aspect of WoW, of going out and collecting different appearances for different weapons and everything else, which I'm glad is coming back in Battle for Azeroth, where our weapons are replaceable. I dislike the whole, oh my god, you need to get this relic and this relic and this relic and go this tier, with the light forge and everything else. That was a little too convoluted after everything else. I had taken a break from the game, but I still have over 410 days played on just one character. I don't need any more convoluted stuff to bog me down. I've got enough as is. But, overall I missed that, but I'm glad it's coming back with Battle for Azeroth. The raids I actually enjoyed. I thought Emerald Nightmare was pretty cool with Xavius and Il'gynoth. Oh dear god, the speculations around the whispers from Il'gynoth. Oh dear god, and people still go on about that to this day. What, a year plus after its release? But people still go on about Yogg-Saron, and it's been, god, I want to say close to a decade since we fought Yogg-Saron.
Right on our doorstep.
And then Cthulhu before that.
Let them in.
I know it's been over a decade since Cthulhu, because he was the original bad guy. The first old god we were introduced to. But I liked the raids. I could have done without, the half raid of Trial of Valor. Or what was it? It was that other raid that came out between Nighthold and Emerald Nightmare. If they just bought out Nighthold a little earlier, that would have been better. But then again, I've got one of my cool transmog sets thanks to Heroic, hell yeah. So I'll take that. But overall I liked the raids. Between Emerald Nightmare, TOV, Nighthold, what else? Tomb of Sargeras, and now Argus? Or Antorus. I enjoyed every single one of them. Every single one of them. I'm almost positive I'm missing one of them. But it was overall good. I liked, everything about the raids. The bosses were different. They were cool, unique. One of them, I'm blanking on the name. Actually, Il'gynoth was probably the funniest boss I've ever encountered, because I remember having some people in our raids just not getting the concept of, if you're being focused by an ooze, bring the ooze to the giant eye. And they would actually just stand there and try and kill the eye themselves. And then it was the DPS race to see if we can kill Il'gynoth in one pass instead of going for, instead of doing the safe and going for 2. There were many times where we would get him to like 1% and then Dots would finish it as we were running out. Because we thought we had to, do it all over again for the first phase. So that was definitely a fun experience. Nighthold, that, what was it, the third boss? Oh dear god, that was fun. Eating the cakes and everything, that was fun. What else? Oh dear god, the melee brawl that we had for... Oh god, I can't tell you how many times I wished I weren't melee on some of the bosses inside of Nighthold. Especially like, oh, I don't know, the giant colossal thing we had to fight. God, why can't I remember his name? This is gonna bug me. Let me see if I can pull it up on Atlas Loot. Okay, that's there. Oh, yeah. And Taurus. Yeah, Trial of Valor. Okay, so I didn't miss one. But, let's see. Nighthold. There we go. Croesus. Just that boss. Oh dear god. That sucked as melee. Same thing with Gul'dan. He kind of did and didn't suck, but Trilliax was fun. And doing Mythic Skyperion, that was fun too. Just for the simple fact of, as a Fury Warrior, once I got my rotation down, was able to get the trinket from, Elisand. That was amazing, because every time we would just have a giant group of ads, crits all around, I would be able to get multiple battle cries off in quick succession to each other, and that just upped my AoE DPS, and I beat out some of our Warlocks and our Boomkins on AoE as a Fury Warrior, so that was fun. The legendaries, I'm glad they're doing away with the, chance of getting a legendary. If they do a quest where, it's like the cape from Miss Pandaria or the ring from, Warlords, I think that's good enough. Where everybody gets a legendary, but you kind of gotta work for it to get it. Everybody gets legendaries, works and it doesn't work, everybody gets pissed off that, oh, why do they also get a legendary? But at the same time, everybody gets legendary, so nobody feels left out. I hope they bring that back, or they bring back, just class-specific legendaries. I'm gonna go off on a limb and say something like, Vanilla, where you had, Hand of Rag was most likely going to a warrior or Red Paladin in Vanilla, or if you had that ballsy enhancement shaman on Horde, that's kind of all that it was doing. Then you had Thunder Fury, who went to like rogues and warriors and everybody else. And everybody laughed because everybody's like, oh, it's a hunter weapon. Hunters can use everything, right? Hunters need to melee after they run out of ammo, etc., etc. But, or they make like a Vanir from Uldir, where it's just like every, those specific classes are able to get it. And it's a healer specific. I don't think, like, what they're doing now, or what they did now in Legion didn't work out so well, because, like how it is, or how it was before you can just buy your legendaries with the essences. It sucked. 1 or 2 legendaries, depending on what they were, change your playstyle. And, if you didn't have those legendaries, you were kind of SOL when it came to how you looked on the meter, how you performed, and your viability in the raid. You know, I got super, super, super lucky, and my first legendaries were the Helm for Fury Warriors, the Bracers. Those two right there set me up for longest time, and then when I finally got the pants, when they were introduced, it was like game changing. I didn't want anything else. You know, every other legendary I had didn't matter because, you know, what am I going to use them aside from doing something like the Mage Tower or doing solo content. You know, that was the only time that legendaries outside of the Helm and Legs really mattered, were soloing and Mage Tower. Which, you know, speaking of Mage Tower, I'm happy they had something like that in the game, and I hope they do more like that. You know, just overall, I liked this expansion. I'm glad for some of the things that it introduced, like the dynamic leveling, where you didn't have to choose a specific zone to do first. You know, you can pick Val'shra to do first, and then go to High Mountain, and then go to Azuna, and then go to Stormheim to finish everything off. You know, you didn't have to go a specific route like you did in previous expansions, where, like, you know, the most recent one before this was Warlords, I believe, where, you know, you had to go, you know, for Horde, we went into the Frost area, and then was like, go to Gorgron, and then Spires of Iraq, and you didn't have to do all of that in this expansion. All you had to do was, like, okay, pick one zone to start in, complete those complete the quest there, probably do the story chain, you know, finish off that area, and then move on to whatever zone you wanted next, which made Blizzard implement that system of pick whatever zone you want. It doesn't matter. You know, you're going to get everything done anyway. You're going to level up the same pace no matter what zone you're in. They brought that to every other area prior to Legion, and I believe that's what they're doing in Battle for Azeroth as well, where everything scales with you. You know, like, yeah, there was a story set in place, but, you know, eventually you will have gotten that storyline, but a lot of people are also like, you know, we really didn't need, you know, the story. But it's good for those that want to try and follow a story route. But yeah, overall, I liked this expansion, aside from some bosses that I just wish weren't in the game. Yeah, like, I wish that we didn't have bosses such as
we will not stand for tyranny.
I'm going to actually go off on a limb here and say the Council from Tomb. That one sucked, especially, you know, early on. We 3-tanked that boss fight, and as a Fury Warrior who went prot for that specific fight, you know, like, I was the quote-unquote stupid one, or stupid warrior in our guild, who leveled up most of his weapons, you know, to be ideally the same or close enough, but Fury was always the primary spec. You know, like, if once I had like 4 stacks of Concordance in Fury, I would work towards doing the same in Prot and then Arms. You know, even if I just got the Artifact Power tokens as Fury, I would switch over to Prot and use them on there, so on and so forth. Sorry, just congested a little bit, still a little cold. Or still have a cold. But, yeah, it was, you know, it was a deficit to me as DPS, but in general for our raids, it was almost necessary that I did that, because that kept my tank spec just about on par with Fury, because I didn't have to worry about, oh, I don't have Concordance as Arm or as Prod, you know, I don't have the correct avoidance stats, I don't have this, I don't have that. I didn't have to worry because I actually kept up with everything, and it was a very valuable asset to my raid. You know, at one point I remember on that council fight, you know, right after you defeat the pit lord that came in, they had to, you know, go bowling and everything. It was those two bosses and you had somebody in the cage, etc., etc. I think at one point I survived. Our other tanks had died because our healers couldn't heal them because all of them at one point were in that cage. And I was outside and nobody, you know, there was no healers, so it was all DPS and me as like the third off tank. I survived without heals for like a good 2 minutes, and that was no bueno. You know, I survived it, but only because I had specific legendaries that helped me as Prot, and Prot warriors at the time were kind of OP. So it all kind of worked out in our favor. But I'm glad they're doing away with the Legion system of legendaries. And they're also not giving us artifact weapons, but they're giving us like Azerite necks and shoulders, I think. But they're also doing away with like tier sets and stuff, which I kind of like and don't like. Like, the completionist in me liked being able to have like every piece of the set because, you know, it looked cool, or, you know, the bonuses were cool, and then you can mix and match and everything else. But I get where Blizzard's coming from with that. It wasn't necessary. You know, it was a thing back all the way back in vanilla, and when you got into something like Naxxramas, where you have like 8 pieces of tier, you know, you had helm, shoulders, back, chest, bracers, gloves, belt, legs, and feet. So it's like 9 pieces of tier. That was kind of ridiculous. Then in Burning Crusade, they shortened it down to like 5. Helm, neck, chest, gloves, pants. That's it. Sometimes it was a belt, sometimes it wasn't. You know, it all varied. But there was only like 5 pieces, and it only went up to 4 set bonus. You know, set bonus of having 4 pieces equipped. And it's been that way ever since. But then, you know, I get what they're doing, but I don't know, just the completionist to me. But I also liked, yeah, the Mage Towers. I think I touched a little bit on that. The Mage Tower challenge, that was fun. It was exactly what it said. It was a challenge. You know, as a Fury Warrior, Imp Mother Agatha was a brick wall I beat my head against for 2.5, 3 hours. But you know what? I got it done. I got my Fury Hidden Skin. And I enjoyed the crap out of it because that proved to me that I knew how to do mechanics properly. Like, I could do mechanics. You know, I never failed, or I rarely failed at mechanics. You know, we're all human. I'm not going to say that I never failed. But rarely did I fail and not admit to it. You know, I would fail and admit to my mistakes, but in Mother Agatha taught me, you know, I knew ads were always a priority, but, you know, the order of ads also mattered. You know, positioning of certain, you know, small AoEs that would be done. You know, there were certain imps where if they got you, they would explode and leave a giant pool of fell blood. You know, if I put that in the wrong position, they, you know, made it just that, you know, 8 times harder for me to actually do a Mother Agatha. So, you know, everything I learned in that fight was a very, very big help for me. You know, it helped in just so many different ways, and people don't realize that's what those fights are supposed to teach us. Not just, oh my god, blow all of your CDs and blow the boss up. No, it's order of operations. Just how in math we have PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, we had order of operations in, what ads need to be killed at what time. What is the best way to deal with that ad? When, is the best time to pop a cooldown? I got to the point where I killed a Mother Agatha, and, I just sat in the room for like 5 straight minutes. I'm like, okay, I physically and mentally had to like take a reprieve and be like, I just did that. That took me, like, the fight lasted, I want to say, solid 6 minutes, but it was also a big help that, every time I did the fight, I got that much better. First time I did the fight, I got her to 70% and I died due to the ads. Second time I got her to 60%, but I died due to the rolling boulders, etc., etc. And I kept on getting better and better and better and better. And I hope in Battle for Azeroth they implement something else like that, and possibly even the Chromie scenario. The Chromie scenario was fun in its own right as well. But, overall, I'm happy with how this expansion panned out. I'm happy with everything Blizzard implemented, even though I didn't agree with a lot of things. Like I said, the artifact weapon, I'm glad that it's going away, and I've already, you guys have seen it on my warrior. I'm not using my artifact weapon. I'm using 2 of the weapons I got from Dailies. I'm not using my artifact weapon anymore. I'm getting out of the habit of trying to use Odin's Fury and everything else to up my damage. This expansion taught a lot of people to rely on that proc of, oh, this from your artifact weapon is going to help you immensely. I don't like that. That took away from player skill, which, in my eyes, skill should always reign above everything else, but, whatever. C'est la vie, that's life. But just an overall, going from the get-go, from 100 to 110, the raids, the bosses, just everything to do with this expansion. The leveling experience, I'm giving it a solid 10. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that wasn't perfect, but, solid 8. 8 out of 10 is not bad. There were things I didn't like, things I did like. The fact that it was choose your own path, but eventually you're going to get everything done anyway, was very, very helpful. Because I got apparently one of the hardest zones to do out of the way first at higher levels. I went to Stormheim because to me that made most sense. As a warrior, that's, as a warrior, I was talking to Odin and everything else, and that was kind of his zone, was Stormheim. Stormheim was kind of like where I thought warriors should level first, and I went there, come to find out, 4 months into the expansion, Stormheim at higher levels, this is word of mouth, people are like, oh, Stormheim at higher levels to level is actually very difficult because of the scaling. The scaling, that was meant to be, the top end zone. But I got it done out of the way first, so it was a big help to me. I finished with Val Shara, I believe, on my warrior. No, I did High Mountain last on my warrior. But either way, it was nice to be able to choose where I went to level and not have to follow the crowd like I did in previous expansions, where it was just, gotta go to this zone, then this zone, then this zone, then this zone. It was like, okay, you can do Stormheim, then you can do Val Shara, then you can do Asuna, then you can, etc. That was good, and I'm glad they brought that into previous leveling tiers, leveling expansions, and etc. The raids I enjoyed thoroughly. Going from Emerald Nightmare, that was, 7. TOV, I'm giving like a 5. I didn't find it that enjoyable, but I also didn't find it horrible. It was alright. Tomb, actually Nighthold, because that came before Tomb. Nighthold, I would say solid like 9 out of 10, because there were bosses I just turned my brain off and was just like, so deep into the damage meter. If you guys have watched or looked at the Dark Legacy comics, that was me. It was like I've got the blinders on and I'm just like straight shotting it towards the boss to be top of the meter. On some of the boss fights inside of Nighthold, like Skyperion or Scorpion, Trilliax, he was another one. I did mechanics, but you know, as a Fury Warrior, we were given a lot of mobility to help us. So, you know, nothing like heroic leaping to a cake and then charging back to the boss because, you know, I got extra rage from charging and, oh look, I can rampage again. You know, it was fun. The Gul'dan fight was a fun one to do. Between the ads in the first phase and then dealing with, you know, just different things and, you know, judging when it was, you know, waiting until everybody clumped up in your circle for you to break your tether and everything else. All of those things were good. Those were mechanics that were good. You know, and then, you know, I just thoroughly enjoyed Nighthold. I'm giving that an 8 out of 10. Tomb, I'm giving at least, you know, 7 because, you know, we had visited Tomb once before in Warcraft 3. So for lore reasons, it bumps up, but there were certain bosses in there, like Herejitan, that I could have done away with. But, you know, there were other boss fights like the Snake boss. That was a pleasantly fun surprise. You know, dodging the tornadoes, absorbing all the ooze, you know, the ooze puddles and all of that jazz. What else? You know what? I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 instead of 7 because, like I said, lore factor. And not only that, that's also where we killed Jaden. You know, finally got Kill Jaden, because last time we attacked Kill Jaden was inside of Sunwell. I believe it was Kill Jaden. Let me double check. Yes, I need to pull up Atlas Loot for Tomb. Yeah, Kill Jaden. He was a fun fight, just in general. Yo, I will not forget that boss fight. It was fun. But yeah, for lore and just boss mechanics, it gets an 8. And Taurus, it was fun fighting Varmathras. And actually going back to God, what? Yeah, Nighthold, Tichondrius. We've killed 2 Dreadlords in Legion. 2 big Dreadlords. 2 of them. Varmathras, who was an instigator in the Wrathgate all the way back in Wrath of the Lich King. And Tichondrius, who, for a lot of you don't know, was one of the instigators way back in Warcraft 3 that bought Arthas to Icecrown to get the Frostmourne. And fun fact, I actually have a Tichondrius 3.5 figure statue here in my house that I sadistically would make watch me kill him every time we would kill him in Nighthold. So yeah. But killing 2 major Dreadlords, and then there's like another one with Deathrock that I believe is... No, Deathrock is dead now as well. No, he's not, because he was the one that instigated the Rogue Order Hulk stuff. So we've seen 3 major Dreadlords that we knew about in Legion. That's amazing, just for lore aspects alone. Like, that's a 10 out of 10. Also, going back to Emerald Nightmare, lore aspects, it goes, you know, actually bump it up to 9 out of 10 because of the lore with Xavius, the Whispers from Il'gynoth, for the old gods. Just, as a lore nerd, I'm happy with this expansion. It closed some loops, but opened up, or closed, it answered some questions, but posed many more that I'm interested to see where everything leads. Because now with after Antorus, we saw that Sargeras plunged his sword into Silithus, and we know from previous, from vanilla, that's where Cthulhu is. So I would like to see what if Blizzard does anything with Cthulhu, and possibly Udyr or Uldar. Wow, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Uldar. So I don't think they're going to do anything with Uldar and Yogg-Saron, but they should definitely do something with Cthulhu or Cthulhu, however you want to pronounce it, because he's in Silithus. We know exactly where he is. He's under Silithus. Maybe Sargeras just actually killed him. Who knows? But, it'll be interesting what happens in Battle for Azeroth. But yeah, and Taurus, for lore reasons, I'm giving that, just in general for the boss fights and the lore, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the crap out of all of these bosses. I really did. Like, every single fight I hated but loved in one way or another. That should not be a detriment to the overall rating I give it. I enjoyed some of the boss fights in Antorus, such as Varimathras, but I also hated fights like the Coven, because that was just a nightmare, especially on Heroic, where it was just seriously all RNG. It was overall an enjoyable expansion for raids. 5-mans, I enjoyed everything. I love that they brought back Karazhan, and then smartly split it up into 2 sections, because that's just a large 5-man to do. That was one thing that everybody who had done Kara back in Burning Crusade had an issue with, was, so they're making it a 5-man, but it's got all the bosses in there, it's got 13 bosses. And then, for the lower Kara, you had Opera, Maiden, Morose, and Toonman. Perfect. Upper, you had Curator, you had the Shade, the Mana Worm boss, and then the Eye. I don't count the chess event, that's trash. But yeah, it was a giant instance. I love how they did everything in there aesthetically. But overall, just every single 5-man I enjoyed in one way or another. So 5-mans in this expansion, 9 out of 10. Nothing is getting a 10 out of 10 because nothing is perfect. But, solid 8 or 9 out of 10 is still good. Overall, I enjoyed the expansion. I can't wait to see what they do in Battle for Azeroth. So, that's it, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs it down. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more in the future. You all know the next video I post will most likely be me starting to level up my warrior in Battle for Azeroth. Because, like I said, that drops on Tuesday, and this is coming up Monday. So, until next time, guys, my name has been Shadowswolm, and I will talk to you all next time. See ya!